computer is what I want to do. Okay, I'm Virginia Pitts, and I have been doing this since May of 2016. I was the first graduate of the program. So I have not been launching all that long. I have been a coach. I am the NCST coach, or one of many now. And I love this program. I wish it had been around during my 44 years of teaching, but it was not. But I support this program 100%. I have learned so much reading other people's submissions. And the support you get from the coaches, because I've worked with other coaches, and from Craig, from all the people in NCST and NICE, it's wonderful. They will do anything to help you. And there's a lot of, if you forget your login, then you can, email somebody, a support group, and they will fix it all up for you. So if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and get started so we can make sure that I have.
So because I'm bossy, I'm doing something. Mute. I'm going to mute me on here so we can hear you up there. So give me 1 second to fix this.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just so you guys know, while you're doing that, Lori, I'm going to turn off my video and mute as well. I'm having a little bit of bandwidth issue on my side, and by turning off my video, I'll have.
And I will be turning off my video as I go over this.
So we're going to mute me, and we won't be able to talk to you. So I'm just letting you know, if you don't hear from us, that's why.
I think there is a chat button somewhere.
That's right. Down at the bottom, and just jump in on that. I'll relay. Sorry.
Sounds great. Thank you.
So I'm going to stop my video. So I don't even know if you can see me because everything's on my page now of what I want to show you. Can you see the NIST or NISE website where our NCST goes to? Can you see where it says other programs you may be interested in? Kurt, can you see that?
So yes, I can. And remember, Lori muted themselves.
Okay, so I may just ask you, since you're,
Perfect. I'll stand by, and I will not be muted, but I will be quiet.
Oh, that doesn't bother me. But this is once you log in, and I'm assuming that you have all of your login credentials, that this is the page that will come up. I'm actually logged into a student. And so this is what comes up on your page. And these are other programs that NICE offers. And some of them are from Southern New Hampshire University. And others are through STEM Scopes and NGSS, of course, our NICE program. And so there's many things that you can do other than this if you want to add to your catalog of programs that you can get credentials for. This is something you can just look at on your own and kind of view if you think you want to do something more than what you're doing right now. This is the section that you will click on to get into the document or into the indicators, the group of indicators that you want to work with. This is the National Certification of STEM Teaching and NCST. And you click on that, and it will take you to what was known as the dashboard. And there's lots of different things on the dashboard. And to be honest with you, I'm going to go over all of this, and you may get a lot of it, but some of it you may want to go back and just look at. But this page opens up for me, even when I grade at times, assess other people. And it also opens up for me as a student. So some of the things on the dashboard are how to launch the program, where you could just click on this and it launches you right in to the program. Or you can go back and you can launch it from some side areas that I'll go over in just a moment. It also tells you how many submissions you have completed and that have been accepted. This is a student. I'm not a student. So I did one, but I didn't submit it and it wasn't ever, assessed and completed. But I used it as an example. When your coach starts assessing your work and you click on this dashboard, it will show you the feedback that your coach has given to you once the coach has assessed your work. And you can just click on it and view what the coach had to say. It also shows you completed indicators by its status, whether the work you turned in for indicator, say 5, was accepted. It'll show that you had 1 accepted. Maybe you had a resubmit. So you have 1 resubmit and you have a total of 2 that you've done. 1's resubmitted and 1's been accepted. This one is one that I used several months ago in an example. So I've submitted, it won't be reviewed, but it'll just stay there. This is kind of a quick eyeball account of how many you've done. There are 38 indicators in this program. And it seems like a whole lot, but when we get to the indicators themselves, I'll tell you that there's ways that you can not shortcut anything, but you can do things that when you observe somebody, it may be for several indicators at one time. So 38 indicators, and there's parts to each one of those indicators that are required, and all of the required parts must be accepted before it is an acceptable pass, if what you want. It's not pass, fail, it's accepted or resubmit. So if one thing is not uploaded, like the evidence document, then it is an automatic resubmit because the requirement was not met. This is your dashboard. This over here on the side is always on the side of your screen. This will let you quickly go through the different parts of the program that you are working on. I had the same type, but it leads me to a little bit different views of things. So the first thing, and I'm going to show it to you here. No, I'm going to show it to you here. Is the NCST certificate map. This is where, and the first thing you do is expand it. Because you don't know what's going on if you don't. This is like the place you go to get all of your questions answered that you don't quite understand about what the indicator is about. Instead of, well, you can go to your buddy and see if they've already done that indicator, maybe explain it to you. But this is really where you can go and look up what the information that is needed to help you, as you observe, see things that you can use in your indicators. So we have 3 major domains: creating an environment of learning, and then we come down to building scientific understanding, and then finally we have engaging students in scientific and engineering practices. And they all then have indicators under each one of them. And these indicators are the work that you will be turning in to your coach. So if you look over here on the right-hand side, the computer is going to be the content. So if I click on this for indicator 12, this is my content. This tells me everything I need to know about real-world connections. Do you bring the real world into your classroom? Do you take your students out into the real world? Do you do a virtual tour? Do you have speakers? It explains all of this in this indicator and what are you're trying to teach the students and what the students are trying to understand. You can click on this right hand, what I call the hot dog grill, and it will take you to the different sections of the indicator of the content. So I went to what learn. The what learn and the how learn are the two most important things that I've found out in this work. What learn tells you at the very beginning what you're going to learn in this indicator. We will narrow our focus on real world connections. We examine the degree to which the teacher collaborates with students to connect the classroom learning to the outside world and the students' personal lives. What do we mean by, and then it divides it up, and what do we mean by the outside world, kinds of real world, and there's a whole slew of them, and then the different spheres that you can work with. One of the things that many teachers don't, and I want to say this is probably older teachers like me, the virtual reality of going into looking at a virtual tour of some real world connection. They don't use it as much because we as older teachers didn't have this, and so we don't use it. We'll take field trips, or we'll bring speakers in, or we'll connect with another school who may have a speaker, but we'll do these sorts of things. So this is what learn. This tells you what this indicator is all about. And then you can just go over, hit the small arrows. The bigger arrows at the top take you to the next indicator. There's reflection questions that you can answer just in your mind, or if you want to write them down. There are, or you want to share it with somebody. And the one thing that we don't mind and we like you to do is, if you're working on something or watching a video of a teacher teach, or there's 2 or 3 teachers in there watching you teach, share what you saw with one another. Talk about what you saw, what you learned. However, when you get ready to do the indicator itself, it is your own work. It's not shared work on the indicator. You can talk about it all you want to, but when you get ready to write it up, it is your own work that is to be turned in. And that's one thing nice about working in a school that has several people working on the program, is that you can watch a video, or watch a teacher, or videotape yourself and have the teachers watch what you did, and then you can share and talk about it, and then go back to your room and write up your own indicator work. And then it goes through, it'll show you why we learn, talks about nice thoughts and 21st century readiness. There's some reflection questions that you can ask yourself, ask one another about how you feel about what the program is about, and the connections that your students make, and how is your content related to real world connections. And then this is another biggie, how learn. These are ways to approach and to enhance your real world connections with your students. Like, these are ways that you can do it. You bring speakers in, you do a field experience, even going out into your campus can be a real world connection. Connections, past activities, interest, a family night, and bring people in and speakers in, science fair night. All these things are real world connections. Opportunities to discuss, for students to discuss outside the classroom. Maybe you want to show and tell on a family night, or I know we have a lot of family nights around here. And so they have kids that go up and they talk about what goes on in their classroom to people that come to their station. And then there's possible challenges and workarounds. Maybe you're in a very poor school. I don't think where you are is probably a very poor school. But some schools don't have opportunities to take field trips. They don't have opportunities to have parents involved and come in as speakers. And so there are ways that they have to work around this. Talk with the librarian. Maybe you can find somebody in an area like a college professor or a junior college professor is willing to come and talk for a few minutes to your students. But what learn and how learn are two important areas of each indicator of the content area. And then it goes on to reflection of things, how you incorporate, and these are for you and not for us, incorporating, how do you incorporate current events? How do you incorporate real world phenomena? And it asks several questions, and it kind of makes you reflect on your own teaching. And then that's all for this indicator. The last part would be, excuse me, some STEM scopes connections, which is they use life science and biology, how a team is developing a new type of wheat that is resistant to certain fungi. So they bring maybe a speaker in that works with wheat, or maybe they bring in a scientist who knows a lot about fungi. So there's all different areas here that might help you in making these real world connections. But this is the content area. And when you go to the content, like I said, you can use this big arrows at the top, and it takes you to the next indicator of content. And you do the same thing all the way through 38. Are there any questions so far? Because I've done quite a bit. I'm open.
Give me a second because they were muted,
Okay.
remember?
Oh, that's right.
Anybody? Hold on.
There you go.
I can physically turn it down. Okay, yeah. I mean,
Mute it.
yeah, sorry, I turned the volume all the way down.
Oh, I think they can hear.
Can you hear us?
Yes, you have any questions?
Oh, there you go.
I don't have any questions.
I don't think
so.
And to be honest with you, when you start going over this yourself, you'll find out a lot of questions that are going off in your head, and you'll find the answers to, because you have to be able to feel comfortable navigating it yourself. It's like anything that's new, but it's pretty self-explanatory. But we just went over the content, which is on the certificate map. Then now we're going to go to the portfolio, which is the briefcase. And there's all kinds of assessments here: preparing for the portfolio submission, completing the portfolio submission, and assessing the evidence document. Each one of your indicators has an evidence document. They must support your evidence. Some of them are just check marks on a continuum line. Some of them you fill in information. One of them that comes to mind very quickly is investigable and non-investigable questions. And you're supposed to give 10 of each. Please, and I know not everybody's a science teacher, non-investigable questions are non-investigable because they don't collect data. So, and you're supposed to give 10 of those and then 10 of the investigable ones. And there's a whole section on how to determine those. If you are on a break, then you can make up your own, but what we like is for the kids to brainstorm 20 questions and then determine whether they are investigable or non-investigable, and then write them down on your evidence document. So, but the document must be enough information on it to support the claim that I'm getting ready to show you all about in just a moment. So this is indicator 12, which happened a lot. When you click on the portfolio, you will see all these things at the top, and you can do your evidence document. And let me see. The evidence document we now have are editable ones and printable, which are in color. Editable ones are ones that have to be saved to your computer You can write on them, save them, and upload it to us, or upload it to your document, to your submission. The printable ones are, you're going to just have to print it, write on it, scan it, and send it to the indicator in the specific place it's supposed to go. A lot of people have problems with the editable one because they forget to save it first. They write their whole evidence on it, but they didn't save it first. It will not save after you write on it. It's got to be saved to your computer first so it can be written on. So make sure that if you're going to use the editable one, that you save it to your computer first. I'm not a typer on a editable document, so I always printed mine and wrote them out and then uploaded. But it's strictly up to you how you want to do it. And then you get into the submissions. This is what you're going to be assessed on. And you notice that they have red required on 5 different sections. Those must be done. Without any one of those not being done, it's an automatic resubmit by your coach. And you'll have to for most of it, if it's only one part that hasn't been turned in, I will go through and read the rest of it. If it meets the criteria, then they only have to resubmit the one part. But if they left the evidence document out, they can't give me a claim. And then they can't give me any examples. And then they can't give me a suggestion. So for that, it pretty much, they have to at least put the evidence document in so I can understand what the claim is. So this is the contextual data. Your coach is not in your classroom. So I ask my candidates to always tell me the subject area and the grade level of my students. Approximately how many students there are, something specific that they noticed about the indicator that went on by the teacher in the classroom or by the students, a strength and a growth opportunity. You do not have to write all these things down, just pick a few and they can be bulleted just like this. But a lot of times I've had to go back because the evidence document has got material on it, but it's not quite as in depth as what I can get everything out. So I go back to the contextual data and it gives me more information. So make sure that you give enough. I had one that I was assessing and it sounded so simple. And then I read all the way down at the bottom of the contextual data. It was a SPED class. So, but I didn't know that at the very beginning when she first started writing the material. So I finally found out, and I also looked up what she did at the school and found out that she was the SPED teacher. So it made a lot of sense. So make sure that your coach has enough information that he can get what is going on in the classroom. So you're going to write this out, and this expands a lot. And then give it for this indicator. So when you go to indicator 2, give something specific about indicator 2. You don't have to repeat everything in indicator 1. You can just put what you need for indicator 2 in the same way. And then for indicator 3, the same thing. I've had several that just add on and add on. It gets to be a long document. You don't have to do that. It needs to be specific for that indicator. Then you're going to upload your evidence document. It is required. And it shows you that you can either browse files when you upload, and then you'll just upload it. You have to be careful because there's a maximum size of how much has to be done. If it's just the evidence document, it's no problem. If you add papers, different sheets to go with it, sometimes it gets to be a little bit long, and you can always go to another section and upload that. Once you've uploaded the evidence document, then you will make your claim, which is required based on your evidence. For this one, which is the real world connections, there's a novice, which means there were no connections made, or there was only limited connections made. And it didn't relate to the personal lives of the kids. So that teacher might be a novice. So you would mark that teacher novice. Or maybe they guided the students in connecting the classroom learning with the outside world and to their personal lives. Maybe they connected with something that was going on. Maybe they were doing construction work at their school, and they were talking about the environment and how some of the animals are going to be displaced with the construction, and they might have to get veterinarians to come, wildlife people to come and remove some of the animals and move them to another area. Or maybe it was going to look at the building of the crane that's using to build. That's a connection to the real world for careers in the future. So maybe they're guiding them. They don't really, the teacher does most of the talking, and she guides or he guides the students in connecting. And then you have proficient, where the teacher and the students collaboratively connect. So say you say something about an engineer that's coming out to survey in the building of a new addition to the school. Some student may raise their hand and say, my dad's an engineer and he builds buildings. And they collaboratively talk about what goes on with an engineer. Maybe this kid's dad will come and talk. So there's constant rhetoric going back and forth between the teacher and the students. It's not one-sided. They're collaborating about it the whole way through. And then there's role model. And these are independent, the students independently connect their classroom to the world outside. Maybe this is a classroom where it's accelerated or a gifted class where they've had speakers come in, and so they know how to independently connect the classroom. Maybe the teacher just has to give us scenario, take them outside, take them on a field trip, and they do everything else. They connect with what is really going on in the real world and into their personal lives. You have to make the decision based on the contextual data and the evidence document that you had, the evidence that you gave. Now, let me show you the evidence document for real world connections. This is a graphic organizer, and it's supposed to be filled out. I don't know how many I get turned in, but there's nothing here. It says, jot down in the appropriate space in the graphic organizer provided below. What's going on in your class? What is the outside world connection that you're making? So say it's engineering, they're building an addition to your school. So you've got engineering going on, and how does that relate to personal lives? Well, maybe somebody's having a house built, or they're having the swimming pool built. There's got to be some type of architect, engineer that is involved with building, or writing out the plans, checking to make sure that everything is done correctly. Then you can look at culture, activities, interests, and experiences. Is there a culture of the neighborhood or the activities that are going on that show that the students understand what these real world connections are that you've discussed, or that the teacher has decided to put in this? It may be a field trip they took. And what kind of experience they had. Maybe they got to go to the zoo and they got to pet the stingrays. Well, how cool is that if you're a first grader? And so those are the experiences in what kind of careers, STEM careers, current events, field experiences, services, learning, and guest speakers. And you don't have to fill this box up. Just give one or two small little snippets of what went on in the graphic organizer, in this graphic organizer. And then there are questions down here that go with it. Is there evidence to suggest that students are regularly provided opportunities to make connections? And you're going by what the teacher states. You're not in that classroom, so you don't know for sure. You have to go by what the teacher states. Do you observe connections occur by bringing in the real world into the classroom, and by encouraging providing opportunities. Is there a variety of real world connections made? Provide examples. Who makes the majority of the connections? Is it the teacher, the students, or is it a collaboration? And then you will save this, and then you will upload it into the evidence document section. If there is a graphic organizer, it has to be filled out. I don't give credit if it's not filled out, because that's a lot of information right there that tells me what went on in the classroom and what they did, not just by what the teacher's answers to these questions below. So that's an evidence document. It is required, has to be filled out and submitted. So you will assess and make your claim based on whether they're novice, gaining skill, proficient, or role model. If they are between two levels, you feel they're between two levels, take the lesser of the two levels, because you'll have more evidence to support that claim. If you're trying to dig up enough to make it go forward, go with the lesser of the two claims, because there'll be more evidence for it. When you're doing this, go down here at the bottom very often and hit this save button, because if you walk away from the computer and somebody bumps it, you may lose everything and you start all over again. So make sure you hit the save button. That happens to me when I assess my teacher's things, and I hit save a lot. Okay, then you're supposed to cite specific examples. Specific examples, not general examples. So if I were to do this, I would say example number 1, the teacher took the students out on the playground to watch all of the activity in the new building that's being built in the back part of our wherever. They watched the cranes lift the beams up on top. They watched the architect talk about things going on. Those are specific examples, and they must support the claim that whatever you made. Or maybe the example is the teacher didn't make any connections. All she did was mention a building outside and the engineers work out there and that the architect is out there. Maybe they didn't make any connection as a novice. So you would put, teacher did not make connections. You have to give at least one example, and it must be specific. You can give a second and third example. They also must be specific based on your claim. Then the suggestions. These are suggestions that will move the teacher from the level that you made the claim at forward towards role model. Ultimately, we want to be role model or over and above. And so you have to give suggestions, and the clear and explicit suggestion that can further the teacher and strengthen. And it's very specific on how you want to do. For newbies that start this, I always tell my candidates, start the sentence with a suggestion might be, because then you've got the word suggestion, you're going to give a suggestion. Sometimes if you don't start it that way, they start rattling on about other things and never give a suggestion. They've just told everything that went on in their observation, but there was never a suggestion. So it has to be a resubmit. Everything else was fine, but this part was not done. So I would recommend a suggestion. You only need to give one. So if the person is a novice, then a suggestion I would make would be to have the students go out and look and observe what is going on with the new building, or what is going on at the zoo with the stingrays, and talk about and collaborate with the teacher all the different careers that they could be involved in. But bring it where the suggestion will move the teacher 1 or 2 steps forward Ultimately, they would be able to go through this whole real world connections on their own. But make a suggestion that will move the teacher forward. If you rate the teacher role model, you need to give a suggestion that is so way out of this galaxy that makes them over and above role model. It's outside the box. A YouTube video showing something that is very different than is up there in other ways about the content that they're looking at, that they're studying. But a person, if you rate them, they can be a role model, but you've got to give us a suggestion that's over and above role model. And it can't be backwards. If you go backwards, it's a resubmit. So if you're going to start with novice, and the next step is direct or guide, then the next step would be collaborate. The next step would be that pretty much the students are doing it autonomously. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay, I know this is fast. I want to give you time for anything. And then once you look, and then down here, you can give a couple of suggestions if you want. Then down here is artifacts, and these are optional. Me as an assessor, as a coach, as a grader, I love pictures of kids in the classroom doing things. I love documents that show what you did in your classroom. Sometimes when you get to the analyze, towards the last 3 or 4, you've got little boxes you're supposed to type in. Well, those boxes aren't big enough for you to have the student talk, the teacher talk, and then the student talk again. So what they do is they write it up and submit it in the artifacts. And most of them tell me the rest of this is in the artifacts. And I just go down and read it. But you can have pictures. There's not enough room for a very big video. About 5-10 seconds is all the room's for. But pictures and documents are great. You don't have to do this. This is optional. I get maybe 40% and not a picture for every indicator. But I get some really, really great ones when they're doing an engineering project or a PBL.
More. Hey, Virginia.
Yes.
At this point, while we're letting everyone consider questions they want to share, I do want to introduce Eric Stansberry. And then Eric, if you unmute, if you can just introduce yourself and then any perspective that you may want to offer as well, what Virginia has already shared so well.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be working with you guys. I'm going to wave at everybody there. What you will find in this process, if you do it like our school did this, and we did both the school side and the individual side at the same time, we worked it as a PLC, so we would discuss with each other what we were learning. And you'll find that when you do that, it makes the whole process easier, and it helps you to really get the meat and potatoes out of this situation. So that I'm here to help coach you through that part, and anything that you need from me, I am an email away, and I always answer emails as quick as I get them.
That's what we discussed earlier, Eric. We talked about discuss it among yourselves, and then when you're ready to write it up, you have to do your own write-ups.
Right.
But it makes it a lot easier. And let me tell you, you can do one observation and come up with 3 or 4 indicators. You don't have to just go, oh, I got 38 observations I got to do. No, that's not what you have to do. You can do, like you're going to do 1 and 2 are about the classroom setup. So you can look at the classroom, the same classroom, and do that. There's, when you do investigable questions and investigative design, you can use those types of things. There's so many that you can use together that will extend, and you don't have to use all the different observations. You need to make, though, the contextual data for Eric to read specific for that indicator, and make it where he can see what is really in your classroom. It doesn't have to be lengthy, but state in there, this teacher and students were collaborating over something. Just make it enough where he can kind of get an eyeball idea of what your classroom looks like, what's going on.
One of the things I'll do when send you back your feedback, you will always know exactly what I'm looking for. I will be very specific in my feedback. So that way you're not wondering, well, wonder what I did. If it's not accepted, what do I need to improve? I will always give you very specific feedback so that you have the best shot at success. And if we need to do one together, I'm happy to do that as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things, I just had to let my dog out, sorry. That's one of the things I did is I give specific, I even say, look at how learn and what learn and see what you can come up with. But sometimes I even say, did you think about it this way? Just so you get a different perspective of maybe somebody who's gone through it, or maybe you didn't get a chance to be with the group and talk about it. So you're all on your own. And so it just whatever helps.
Got to go dismiss our kids. I'm the newly appointed dean. So I've got to step away. I'll be right back so I can let the kids out.
Okay. I don't have any more unless somebody else. I don't have any more to launch with you, but I'm willing to answer any questions. Craig's here to answer questions too, because this is fast and furious. It's like I do this in 45 minutes.
So this is the question in the room right now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So the question is, how do we sign in? Do we have that information yet, Craig?
Has not everyone received, or has anyone received their login information, Lori?
Oh, okay. It looks like now it actually looks like it says you can return.
I just don't know if that's it.
Oh yeah. Okay, I see. So yeah. So like Lori Shargell got one, and it does say create my account. Okay. So you guys, it says the subject is Ali Nice welcome email. ALINISE welcome email. Okay.
Yeah, that's.
And just to decode that for everybody, that means Accelerate Learning Incorporated National Institute for STEM Education.
Right. We know that, but you
In
don't know that.
education, we live and die by acronyms, right?
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay.
certainly
So it looks like that went out, you guys, on the November 25th.
Yeah.
So check and see if you have that. I'll have to check and see if I got it too. Because I know I got something where I can see my whole team, but I never actually saw that I got a login. So I'll do the same
So
thing.
sometimes, Lori, what happens is those will get pulled into spam folders because of district filters.
We just
if people
realized
don't-
something. So it looks like those links, because we've been on break, those links are all expired now.
Yeah, Kyle probably has.
Okay, I'll have them resent out in the morning.
Okay, thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
No, that's okay. We just, we didn't know what we were looking for, and we've all been eating turkey.
Right. And one of the things I use, Chrome is what this program has been set up for. However, after 3 years, because I've been doing this almost 4, Chrome decided it doesn't like me. Kyle can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. So I had to go to Firefox. Firefox will support this program too. And I'm not sure. I've cleaned it back to the beginning of time on my computer, and it still will not let me use Chrome.
Okay.
So, but that
I think you guys have access to both on your school computer. So
it took me back 3 years. So, I mean, it took 3 years to get it going. Be sure to save often, like I said before, because if you don't, and you've done all this work, and then it magically, if you just hit your mouse the wrong way and it all turns blue and it goes away.
fabulous.
And
All right.
Well, one thing that we did that helped, we just typed everything in like a Google document and text boxes, so that it's
Wait, say that one more time.
so like we did a Google document or a Word, whichever word processor you use, and I would answer the questions in that Google document, and then just copy and paste it over. If something didn't save, I always had that backup.
okay.
Okay.
And that made my life, that made everybody's life so much.
Right.
And I don't know how Eric is, but as a coach for me, to save the candidates when they first start, I ask for them to only do 1 or 2, because if they don't and they don't get it and they turn in 10 to me at one time, they may have 10 resubmissions.
Yeah.
And it's not me, it's because they left something out or they weren't specific enough with their suggestions or their examples.
Okay.
So I always suggest they do 1 or 2 before,
Yeah. Okay. And then as far as our site certification, what is the first step with that? I believe, Kurt, you're going to be our coach. Kurt's not there. Okay.
Kurt's right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just quiet, unsurprising to my friends.
No,
I think, Lori, what I would love to do is get out there and in the next 2 weeks, which is going to be somewhat tricky due to some scheduling, but I think it's important that we get some FaceTime with you and the leadership team.
awesome. That's good.
Let me just suggest a couple of dates, and complicating this, Craig doesn't even know this yet, is I just got a non-negotiable, in huge red letters, this thing arrives from Los Angeles County, non-negotiable jury summons. Apparently they've been tracking my past behavior and are not giving me any options.
Apparently.
in Texas, you're 70, you don't have to go anymore, and I'm 70.
Yep. No, well,
Nice.
so possibilities exist for the very best time would be December 18th, which is pushing it toward the end of my preferred window, but it's the closest thing to a guarantee because, well, by then I will know if I'm on a trial and I could at least give you respectful notice that I wasn't going to make it. The other possibility is this Friday, but it might be a little bit of a hairball with you just back and all the rest of that. Do either of those 2 dates work? And by the way, Lori, we can do all this after everybody else has left, by the way.
Okay. Do you guys need to go? No. Okay. All right. I just don't want you guys to feel like. Okay.
No, I was trying to be respectful as well. I'm thrilled with both the teachers that I've met from this STARS Academy, and we've worked at Symposium, and I'm very aware of your reputation in the region. So being able to build on something so powerful is very cool.
No, I have awesome teachers, and I'm super excited to get to do this journey with them.
Yeah, no, and of course it takes leadership, and I know there's multiple leaders there because I've met them as well. So if everybody's going to hang around, let's just pick a date and see. Let's pick 2 dates and see if one of them will work.
So Kurt, how long do we need? Time period.
So I'm going to answer that 2 ways. With the entire leadership crew, I would keep it short and sweet. With you and I would add 15 to 20 minutes. Or let me rephrase that. With whoever's actually going to be the point person for the campus cert, whether that's you or Kristen or some other Lori, whatever it is.
Some other Lori.
Right? There's multiples. It's an exponential thing.
Totally. Okay. So I could conceivably do after school on this Friday. I don't know how the rest of you guys feel. We have
Fridays are not normally everybody's first choice.
Well, we have superhero training event for a PTA event that night. So, I mean, I'll be here anyway. And then the other one you said was the 18th.
Which is leaving it a little bit long, and it's very vulnerable to all that, That,
yeah, and I'm a little nervous about that. I have a site council meeting at 3.
All right, let's call it Friday then.
Yeah.
What time do you want me there, friend?
Let's see. You want to come at, why don't you come here at about, well, let's put it this way. You have to park around 2:15 parking space, which I would just suggest that you come around 2:15, but I have some children that I have to eat Kona ice with for, we have an icy thing. So I probably more like 2:45 is when I can actually probably meet with you, but you.
Well, no worries. I'll head up there early, and if I can park myself in Kristen's room or something like that, I'll do that, and that way I'll be available, and you can just meet your multiple obligations. We all know how it goes for leaders, especially in the holidays when there's so many things going on.
Come have icy with us. That would be great.
Yes, ma'am. Sugar
And
works
then-
very well.
And then that gives us plenty of time because teachers can come over after and after school, which ends at 2:40. And then, yeah, we can.
Perfect. So just kind of look over there and see if Kristen's willing to host me for the hour before I meet with you. Would she be fine with that?
Absolutely. Hello.
All right. Good enough. So I'll be up there early in the afternoon, and I'll let you know. I don't think there'll be any problems at all, but it's Los Angeles traffic, so we'll work with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all I have. I can't wait to see you all this Friday.
Great. Look forward to meeting you. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
all right. Signing off then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for your help. We're excited.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get out though.